I'm ready for my Gen Con discussion. I've got all my Gen Con badges.
Jesus Lord.
Holy shit. All right, well, let's not waste a beat because I really want to pick your guys' brains about Gen Con.
Yeah.
But first, just quick check in with Mark. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Not too bad. Just drop.
Oh, I got my. Do you see my Jesus is a gamer shirt or thing? That somebody got me? I didn't mean to interrupt you. I forgot that I got this. Somebody was handing them out. They're like, Jesus was a gamer, and I'm like,
was he? I know he was a carpenter, perhaps. But...
Yeah, like
he used to make backgammon.
Yeah,
back in the day.
It reminds me of like those youth pastors from like what was that church? The Vineyard and East Side? Like they come up
East Side,
like we were playing like punk rock music. Like, you know who's the original rebel? Jesus. Like
he was the original punk rocker.
He was the original punk rocker, if you think about it.
Like, you know who originally dated teenagers at the high school they're supposed to go to recruit new Christians? Jeez, I mean, well, not really, but
not really. Oh yeah. We had a whole discussion.
The guy was so creepy.
He was the creepiest. He dated one of Sarah's best friends. And when I was joking about it, like how creepy that was, remember when they played Beast?
Yeah.
Where they were just grope little girls?
Yeah. Can you describe just quickly for our listeners what the game Beast is?
Are we live right now? Is this legal on Twitch?
This is hot mic.
To check that. Someone check the TOS.
Oh, I did. No, we're not live streaming.
Yeah. Okay. Hot take. So Beast was a game that they played in the like church auditorium where they turned off all the lights and all you could say was the word Beast and that was the game. And so all it was a chance for like 13-year-old boys to grope 13-year-old girls and
make out in the corners.
So like
I was never a part of this.
I didn't know about this until we played a show there one time and they asked us also to be chaperones and we're like 16, 17 at the time maybe. And they're like, oh yeah, you guys are going to play a show at the church also. Like you'll be one of the older people there. So could you be like a chaperone? And so like they started playing this and we were just like, what the hell is going on?
You guys are in a band. That means you're responsible, right?
Yeah. And
you're organized.
A band of atheists.
A band
that work together.
Playing Bad Religion songs in a church.
In the church, we're playing Bad Religion songs talking about being atheists.
The stewards of your children, everyone. Just think when this is what Sunday school was like in the modern era. Just be warned. People like us will fucking play punk rock to your kids and be in charge of them for somehow.
But somehow we were the bad influences, not the guy that was actively dating like the 23-year-old dating like 16-year-olds.
Or any of the adults who had the policy that just any like punk rock band could oversee a bunch of children.
Luckily we were responsible, but not everybody was.
Relatively responsible. Eric was always the voice of reason, and Billy and I were always the ones wanting to do just absurd shit.
Absolutely. He was the one who was the most punk rock, so he was the one everybody thought was the worst influence. But he looked
the most punk rock.
Yes.
He definitely looked.
Yeah, he had his Misfit shirt, and like when he died, he used to dye his hair black.
Widow's Peak.
With the
Devil's Peak.
The Devil's Peak from the Misfits, and people just thought that he was like demonic, but meanwhile he was basically like a 35-year-old man in like a 15-year or 16-year-old's body. Like, guys, this is a terrible idea. We shouldn't do this. We're like, no, this is a great idea. We should totally do this.
But he had baby doll heads in the back of his car window, so everybody judged him.
That he got from my garage.
We found
a box of baby doll heads. Do you remember that?
No, the origin. I don't think I read the issue number 1 of the baby head saga.
Oh my god! Second only to the box of dildos that I found outside the sex shop. That's a tale for another day on the Plus One.
Well, we'll wait for Eric on that and we'll discuss that because
that's a hard segue.
Yeah,
it definitely is. But speaking of segues, I'll roll that intro. Hello and welcome to Plus One to Gaming. I'm Chris.
I'm Billy.
And I'm Mark.
And today we are talking about Gen Con. Relevant because A, it just happened. 2, Mark just went. And D, Billy, you've been how many times?
I believe 5.
Oh my god. Okay. So we
go ahead and show us your sparkle there.
Yeah, please show us your bling.
I think that there's 5 badges here. I'm not sure. I think there's 5.
You can hear them clanking.
Wait, 5. Oh, yes.
5 years. You didn't go this past year, but you've been 5 times previously. So,
yes.
I've never been. I've been wanting to go, and I know like a group of our friends usually goes together. So I thought this would be a fun chance, Mark, to get your just experience going for the first time. I'd also like to hear Billy's experience being a Gen Con veteran, and really just like what is Gen Con? Who's it for? I'd like to talk about like preparing to go, like all just what goes into Gen Con, and also True Dungeon. And then Mark, you said that you got into a lot of trouble at Gen Con, so
I got into trouble. That's true.
I really, really want to hear about this, and your True Dungeon experience also. So let's get into it. First, like, just for anybody who doesn't know what is Gen Con?
Well, Gen Con is it's now a general like board game, card game, tabletop role playing game convention. It was started by as the Lake Geneva Convention, hence the Gen Con moniker, by Gary Gygax to have his friends play Dungeons and Dragons in the 70s. Can't just call it the Geneva Convention because that's already a thing.
And why did they go that route though? I think that's kind of interesting, like the history of like, because that's very confusing why they would call it.
Yeah, well, I mean, because it was in Lake Geneva, wherever Lake Geneva. I think it's in like Minnesota or something like that. It's definitely Midwest. But then outgrew that venue, and now every time I've been, it's been in Indianapolis. I don't know when they moved that or what, but it started out just Dungeons and Dragons, and then it got big in everything else, and now it's mostly when I played or when I went, like tabletop was kind of like a backseat. It was a lot of card game and a lot of board games.
Interesting.
Yes, cool. And these days, Dungeons and Dragons and Wizard of the Coast is not officially there at all. Oh. I found out while on the floor was registering. Definitely content and things related, but Wizards, no booth, no demo station.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they had no official presence. Apparently what they do these days is they have like third-party companies of like demo runners and DMs and stuff like that. So they, the game is there and it's being taught. But I thought it was interesting. There wasn't, like a place with all the minis and just all the merch. They didn't have a booth. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
That is, I'm curious. We should maybe dig into that a little bit because, like, is there like a weird fallout thing between the owners of Gen Con and Wizards, or is it just like a tactical decision? It just seems like, as a marketer, it seems like you're leaving money on the table not being there.
For sure. Like they had a presence early on when I went, especially because like the first year, maybe the first 2 years, D&D 5e wasn't out. It was when it was called D&D Next,
aka 4th edition.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. You were not very good.
Yes, it was good. Oh, but they had 4th edition, but then they were announcing D&D Next, which is what they called like D&D 5th edition, like it's early on the proto thing or whatever.
Oh, that's right. I was mistaken.
Yeah. And so like they had a presence there, and they were announcing it, and you could get like kind of like a small PDF of just like the basic rules, and there are some other things you could do there. But they had a pretty big presence then. But then, of course, like once they release it and you buy the books, like D&D is not Wizards of the Coast moneymaker, like for sure. Because once you buy these books, you don't have to buy. Like I buy more books than I'd have to. You could get by with everybody sharing the 3 books you need: the core rule book, the player's handbook, and the monster manual. And you could everybody could play with that and just pass around the books and share them. And each one is MSRP $50, but usually combined for like $30. Yeah. So like they made a grand total of $90 on there. So like Magic the Gathering is definitely that's their moneymaker, because you have to keep buying those cards and all that other stuff. So
yeah, I kind of took it as almost just like they don't need to be there. Like their licensing play is so good. Yep. And it's so hard that they literally, when it comes to D&D, I feel like they're like, we are a publisher. We don't need to manufacture necessarily. I'm sure they do have that kind of integration because, what multinational corp doesn't. But you know what I mean? Just kind of like, we don't need a booth. Like what? because it's just going to be full of whiz kids stuff. It's going to be full of all the stuff that's for sale at every other booth, and D&D was everywhere. But it was so funny to see so much, and so much of the fan base, even in I feel like casual board gaming, is aware and like has played or knows someone. It's such a part of the zeitgeist that to then like get the book and like flip through and open up the map and be like, oh, there's no like actual Wizards booth. I just thought was strange, but I get it. It seems like maybe in a way it would be a marketing play. They don't need it, so they can just hire people who know how to DM beginner games really well, not have to have a whole department, of people on their books that do that. So
it's a lot. If you ever have gone to a convention for work, like to go as a booth, like as a booth person,
tabling is this much fun. It's a big zero.
Yeah, it really is.
It's hard.
And yeah, I guess just like what's weird to me is like, even so, if you are the 800-pound gorilla, like generally you are there. Like at any tech show that I would go to for past jobs, like Intel, always there. They had the biggest booth just to like show that they could.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, let's not get hung up on this too much. But it is interesting that Wizards is not there. I'm curious for both of you, Bill as a veteran and Mark as your first time. How do you prepare for going to a convention like this, like a big scale kind of immersive event?
Well, for me, I kind of have a list of the things that I want to see. That before the convention starts, they have all the information that they send you. You can kind of find out who's going to be there, and have like a rough plan. And then the first day that you get there, you get like a big old book that has like a map, and there's advertisements and coupons and stuff like that. But then you can kind of pre-plan out, like, these are the things I definitely want to do. These are the things I would like to do, and then just take it from there. There are events that you have to like sign up for and buy tickets for in advance, and so like if you kind of arrange your time wisely, you should be able to do like all the scheduled stuff, like the 2 dungeon, or like if you're actually booked a demonstration of a game, or there's other like random things that you could buy with like tickets and stuff that are scheduled like hard times, and then you can just okay, well, we have like 3 hours, let's go grab lunch and then check out. I really want to check out this game. So I always went with Mac, and he knows what he wants to do, and so you just kind of follow him around. A couple times I would break off with it, but like I had a great time just walking around. But he was a man on a mission.
And Mark, you had a mission as well, right?
I did. I had several missions. It's interesting you should mention that, because I was coming in new, going with Mac, going with Jake and Taylor. So they've been, more than like 10 years running, barring COVID and things like that. They always go. So, I was hitting people up ahead of time, like a week or two out, like, yo, like, what's the plan? I downloaded the maps, PDF versions from the site, just so I could look at the floor and be like, oh, where is Fantasy Flight Games going to be? Where is Wizard? Okay, Wizard's not here, but where is, where can I get my copy of Star Wars Villainous? All those kind of things. So I was very surprised when the response I got back from Jake and Mac was, go with the flow. We're not making a plan, because we've learned that it is so overwhelming that if you make a plan too much, you set yourself up for some disappointment, just like that expectation mitigation, which I think I realized after I got there, like, oh, I get it. Like, it is a crowd. I mean, we're talking like 60,000 plus people coming through there in the course of, a long weekend, 4 days total. So what I did is I'm very meticulously looked up every single place I wanted to go. I made a list on my phone. I circled them in my PDF on my computer here. I left all of that at home accidentally.
Oh no.
So I ended up going with the flow, and it worked pretty well. I had the things that I wanted to see, mostly based on like brands.
Who just cracked open a cold one? That was great.
Please.
That was crisp.
A cold LaCroix. Oh, yeah, man. Pamplemousse sounds so good right now.
It does.
That's how old I am, by the way. I do things like go to Gen Con is like the super exciting thing this month. And instead of me wanting a beer when you crack open a cold one, the sound, I'm like, oh, a pamplemousse.
Yeah, I want those bubbles dancing on my tongue. They're delightful.
But so what we did basically is they were like, I thought it was a good strategy. Day one was basically like hit the floor running, literally. We drove in because we're within driving distance. So we came in and just basically went, it was like exploring a dungeon. It's like, okay, hit the right wall, stick to it, everyone stay together. And like the whole crowd just kind of like swirls, just a big nerd pit around, and just lay of the land kind of stuff. And then from there, there were a couple things like promos or limited edition things that people were like, okay, I'm going to do that now. But other than that, it was kind of just check it out, see what day one, what the layout was. And then from there, we basically started narrowing in like, what kind of demos do we want to play? What are the things that we can only do here? Which is demoing new games, or like maybe a super expensive or complicated game that no one really wants to invest in. And then sightseeing basically for the rest of the weekend when you weren't finding a game to jump in on, just checking out some dice booth that had 30,000 D20s and seeing how cool that was. The merch was ridiculous. I mean, it was everything that you would expect from game companies and publishers and indies to artists making just like pop inspired art from everything from Star Wars, Dungeons and Dragons, Mortal Kombat, like video game stuff started coming in there. Nice. They had an arcade set up with vintage machines and stuff, consoles and actual arcades.
That's where I would have been.
It just covered everything. Yeah, and Billy mentioned the tickets. So like that, for instance, was one of the things you could do for your tickets. You can buy event-specific ones, like I want to sign up to play Twilight Imperium at 2:00 on Saturday. Or you can pop into games with generic tickets. And then the arcade would be, we had 2 tickets for all-day play, or however they have it worked out. So you would just give them your generic tickets and then be able to get a wristband for the arcade. So, yeah, I mean, it was a lot to take in. So I think the main thing was just kind of getting a lay of the land, because you look at the map and sure, it's a map, but it doesn't describe anything that you will see inside.
Too bad they don't just like actually pop down what it really looks like with all the people and fucking shit going on.
And I was also attempting to do some vlogging while I was there, since it was my first time. So trying to like take it all in and also pay attention and like have fun, but try to capture something that felt like how it felt to be there. I
think you did a great job of that.
Was a lot. Thanks.
I forgot to mention that earlier. Mark did a great vlog, and he's got a few more in his pocket that he's working on at Gen Con. And it's just for me not ever going, it really gave me a clear sense of like what to expect. So when I do go next year, hopefully I have a better idea of it. So head over to our social media pages or +1gaming.com and check out Mark's vlog series for Gen Con.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And that kind of added another element of fun in it, just trying to think of like, walking by something, and I might ignore Warhammer, for instance, because I don't play it, and the last thing I need is to invest in a mini game again. RIP at my X-Wing collection.
And Warhammer is one where you must invest.
My God,
what is it, 20K or something? Like what? Warhammer
20K or something is a version of it. I don't know.
That's the future one. Yeah, so
that's how much you're
very
investing.
Ignorant.
That's how much you're actually spending on the.
That's why they call it that.
Yeah.
So it's cool just to walk by and be like, oh, like maybe the listeners want to see some of that. I'll grab some of that, which added a new layer for me of exploration, which was cool.
And I appreciate that, because I like Warhammer in that, like, I know of it. I've had friends who play it, and I think the minis are cool, but I don't have any interest in playing it. So it's nice to see the minis.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like going with friends. Like Mac is into different stuff than Jake, than Taylor, than I am. So we were like hitting up different things, checking out demos that you might not normally play. And I feel like that was the coolest part of Gen Con. I did True Dungeon for the first time, played a bunch of demos and games that I never would have played, bought stuff that I would have probably never considered, except that someone took the time to be like, hey, this concept, let me show you, let me explain it. And I'm like, sold. Like, I think I might do money. I might do a video about like the haul that I brought in, which wasn't much, but a couple cool games. And there's some surprises in there that even I got home and my wife was like, really? Like this one? And I'm like, yeah, but you're going to play it. And like, it's great. She immediately did and loved it. So
I can't wait to hear about your haul.
It's a good time to explain or explore new stuff, you know?
Yeah. I have one last question for you in terms of like preparing to go to Gen Con, or actually like when you're there. How would both of you say that you prioritized your time? Because you get like a very kind of short amount of time there and a lot of stuff to do. How do you manage that?
I like to focus on, like he said, things that you can't do outside of. And so if there are things there that you can't see anywhere else, like there's a small little indie booth, like I definitely like checking out those, just because like a lot of the other ones, like they're giant booths for like the big companies that you think they're going to be there. They're huge, but those are well-known games, and like when a new game from that publisher gets released, it's a big deal. And they have like themed things for the whatever new game they have. But then you'll have like that's the minor booths off to the side that are just like this indie guy that's like, I made this game. It's almost like a real world Kickstarter where he actually made it. It's not like you're kickstarting it before he made it. He made it, but like he's hoping to, these are like, cardboard meeples. I'm hoping to get wooden meeples, or, like this is like the first printing, if it sells enough, I'll improve it.
But they're out there hustling. Support indie developers.
Oh, absolutely.
Hard. And so hard.
So that is what I like whenever I go, whenever I would buy things, it would be like the randomest indie games. And I'd come back, and that's what I have mostly, because the big name games Mac and Jake would buy, and I'm not going to buy the same game that they buy, because I don't play with anybody else but them, really. So like if they have it, there's no point in having two copies unless it's like a banger.
So true.
And so like I would focus on the games that I didn't think that they don't like. Like I like a lot more cooperative than competitive. That's just how I am. Same. I'm a cooperative gamer. Like I like competitive games from time to time. I enjoy them. I do just fine. It's not like I hate them because I lose all the time. Jake usually loses, so does Mac, and that's like an ongoing joke.
Billy's a master tactician, so
yeah, like
that's the funny part, because like you would think, not to interrupt you, sorry, but one thing I've always appreciated of you is that you could trounce everyone you could be the dude who's like, I'm only playing blackjack, you assholes, like, and we're betting every time, and be like, okay, like and then you would win. But he's like, let's play Forbidden Island because it's cooperative and that's really fun. I'm like,
Billy knows the other one would not be as fun for
everyone else. Yeah. He brings a DM mentality to any game. Like we're playing Sorry, and he's genuinely sorry.
I give people like Mac used to get mad because I would give him honest advice when we were playing competitive games. He'd be like, man, you should probably do this. I'm like, I'm playing against you right now. I'm like, I know, but this is what I would do. Like. And then I'd be in a tough spot. Like, that's a good spot. You should do that. Like, but I play games, even competitive games, I play cooperatively. But I don't like purposefully lose. Like Sarah, we just had this discussion that like
Sarah's your wife.
Yes, Sarah's my wife. And we play games with her and her like grandmother. And like when we first started dating, she has like a niece and a nephew, and they're like 12 or 13. And they invited me to play Scene at Disney. And I'm like, oh, sure, let's play it. And I just trounced them. And Sarah got really mad at me. And I'm just like, I played the game per the rules. Like, that is how I play games. Player.
You can't hate Billy for having a near photographic memory.
Yeah, I don't. But like, at the same time, like, if I win a game, I'm not like, I don't like jeer it over everybody. And if I lose a game, I don't get mad. Like, it's just, like, let's add up our points. Oh, you won. Congratulations. Like, end of emotion about who won or did not win that game. It's all about if you had fun. Like there's been times where I've played a game and I didn't have fun even though I won, or I've played a game and I did have a lot of fun and I just got trounced. Just because it's kind of like, it's like somebody who's just on a roll or whatever, or like if it's actually Mac who's doing good and he's like super happy, like this, you're like, oh, good for you. Like The dice rolls
celebrate
go,
that.
Like, yay! Like, I lost, but yeah.
The next game, it's going to be somebody else, and that's the great thing about it.
And someday it'll be you, maybe.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So sorry, I know that was off of the time management thing, but I focus on those things. So I like seeing the sites. Yeah, I like going into booths that I wouldn't be able to see the stuff outside of. I usually spend a lot of time. There's like a section in the back that has like the art and artists. I would love to support them. At the time when I went, I didn't have, I definitely was lower income than I am now, and so I would definitely, if I went back, I would maybe pick up a few things because they're really cool. But like, you don't want to like haggle with an artist because that's their time. You don't want to be like, I like that, but can I get it for $20? I'm like, it took me 20 hours. I'm like, yeah, $20.
Well, especially knowing that your dad and your whole family is just like a family of artists, I think you have a close appreciation for that too.
Takes time. Yeah,
it really does.
Yep.
Mark, what about you? Like, how do you kind of prioritize, or how did you prioritize your time?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my time was kind of go with the flow, which is cool. And I had some people to rely on for expertise, which was nice. But my main priorities, pretty much the same. It was like, number one was what's unique, like what is here in Indy this weekend. So that meant True Dungeon. And that for me meant getting experiences with a lot of games and demos. That might not be entirely unique. It's true, I could probably go to, my local game store or even Target. We talked so much about how well Target's done to have a good game stock recently. And I could buy the games, but just something I wasn't sure on. I felt like it was a unique experience to be there at Gen Con demoing it with friends and stuff like that. So I kind of rolled that in. And then my second tier was I guess kind of still counted as unique things, but it was the indie people. Trying to find some booth that.
Now, when you say indie people, sorry, do you mean Indianapolis people or indie developers?
Good point. I mean independent developers from Indianapolis, the indies.
Thank you.
The indie times twos.
Indie
squares. But yeah, so the independent developers and even the mid and bigger ones, maybe not AEG big or anything like that, but like I made sure to swing by like Plaid Hat Games, which is pretty big. That's cool. But they have a lot of stuff that I've loved over the years. So I went by there, to be like, oh, is there maybe some expansion I haven't heard of, some new storybook game of theirs. I really like those. But really the cool part was finding those people, like you said, who are there with their play materials that they made. A couple of their friends are helping them run the booth probably. They've only got a couple of employees at most. And yeah, that kind of stuff. And I like that because there's a lot of passion connected to that, And when people are talking about the stuff that they've made, 9 times out of 10, even if it's not a concept that I might identify with, it's like the excitement and seeing and hearing about how they put it together and the thought that went into it is interesting enough to draw me in. And there was one in particular, which I think I recorded just kind of a long part of his spiel, which I might just throw up the whole thing because he was so cool.
Yeah, do it. Spread the love.
There's people out there doing new and different things within the space. Like this guy was working on games, RPGs all the way down to kids games that are simplified to the point that like they're accessible to anyone. He was telling me about how he's played games of his RPG with people who are nonverbal, who are able to, cooperate in a situation like negotiating with a shopkeep to get some equipment and stuff because he's putting in the work to meet people where they are. And I think when you're independent, I see a lot more of that passion, probably because they don't have to. The R&D is on you as an individual. It's not a company's resources. So I feel like it's easier to take those deep dives and, finding new and unique things like that and be like, I never even thought about something like that, but you did. Oh God, I want to hear about it all day. That is so kind of where I was at. So,
well, and it's interesting too with excuse me for that frog in my throat. When you're an indie developer, you can also really focus niche. And if you have an idea, like if it's making role-playing games so simple that they're accessible to even, nonverbal, non-speaking, like my wife is a speech language pathologist. She works with those people, and like that resonates with me. Like that would be really cool that there are more games or people focusing on that. So it's cool that you can meet those kinds of people and hear their stories like that.
Yeah. And that guy in particular, he was using everything that he was learning along the way to make gaming better.
Yeah. That's
so
cool.
His kids game, I bought a copy of it. There's a whole tragic story. A train caught on fire and burnt up a lot of his stuff, apparently. But anyways, so he only had this kids game
over that.
Yeah. So I got that. But something as simple as everything that he's learned about trying to make things accessible means he made a kids game and realized he could take all of the text off of the cards so that kids of a younger and younger age would be able to play a simplified game where the rules based on sight and color and shape instead of having to read an ability on every card.
That's cool.
This is a piece of cake. Place it on the plate in order to gain 1 point. Stuff like that. And I'm like, that could be useful to every sort of game.
That's really cool. Yeah, because like games are a great way to teach and learn as well. So like having those elements and being able to like, I'm sure there's dads and moms out there that really want to play these types of games with their kids, and being able to do that, especially at a younger age, can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's so much fun to see new stuff like that because in your mind, you're like, oh, like my niece might love this, and I'm gonna grab that. And you start doing gift shopping. Where you're like, I'm gonna buy this game for my family. That's what's happening here.
Yeah. It's not for
everyone
me.
else needs it. Yeah. Awesome. So that's cool. And not to say that I don't like the heavy hitters too. Like the very first thing I did was get in line to get Star Wars Villainous from Ravensburger. And they had the guy who designed Villainous, I think, like the whole system. He was there at one point. They had big demos. They had a big Darth Vader, wall that you could take selfies with and stuff. Much on the other side of the spectrum, and I love that too. But I think the thing I was most impressed with was just the cool little indie stuff going on.
Right on. Let's get into this is going to be a massive, overwhelming question, but what is there to do at Gen Con? Like, of course, like shopping and stuff, but like when you really break it down, like, can we like start putting them into like buckets just so people can know what they have the opportunity to do at Gen Con?
Yeah. So, I guess this is how all conventions have merged, but Gen Con has just become a celebration of what we consider like a nerd culture. I hate using nerd culture because like
it's got like a negative connotation.
Yeah, and board games are very popular. Like Target sells them. Like it's making a board game resurgence and all this other fun stuff. So I don't like nerd culture, but it is like that type of like the people that like things that were picked on when they were kids. Now that they're like our age, and it's not, I don't want to say uncool, but it's, they are surrounded by like-minded people. So like it is everything. Like, so, you can get waifu pillows for anime, Doctor Who has a whole booth just for Doctor Who shit. Doesn't have to do anything with board games. Nothing to do with board games. It is a Doctor Who booth. It is the same place everywhere against the left wall when you walk in. I'm guessing it was there. Again, did you walk by that Doctor Who booth?
I don't think I noticed a Doctor Who booth. I don't know if maybe COVID put the Doctor Who booth under or something. I feel like things might be different since the whole shakeup and they had to stop doing it every year.
So I haven't gone since COVID. I think the last year I went, maybe it was 2018 or 2019. But there's there's like the pop vinyl figures like reselling. There's like I said, anime booths where you can buy DVDs or waifu pillows or weird stuff like that.
Lots of buying.
Lots of, I mean, but that's what it is. Like it is a consumerism event is what it is. It's either you're buying stuff now or you're looking of what to buy later. Like, that's what it is. Like whether you want it, they're selling board games or telling you what board games are going to sell later. Like that's what it is. Like there's no getting around it. It is a capitalistic celebration of nerd culture.
One of your preparation things should definitely be to take a look at your budget, consider what your friends own, and you know what I mean, like already have that you could play instead of buying your own copy, like Bill said earlier. Because like
my robot broke into my office. Hang on a second. I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
But like, I think shopping is definitely the base of the pyramid for Gen Con. There is a huge swath of things to shop for. Official, secondary market. There was a whole like place where you could rent your own booth, like flea market style, and sell your board game, your used, and kind of like half price books, eBay style, which was pretty cool. So lots of shopping. I think after that you have kind of like your maybe sponsored entertainment, which would be like the game demos from different people, which is usually kind of like free. There's like a free tier of entertainment. We might have to sit around for 20 minutes and wait for a table to open up, but then they'll show you how to play. And then there's kind of like the premium stuff. There's like the arcade you can pay to go into. There's all the events and tournaments and stuff that you can pay to participate in. And things like True Dungeon, which is like a whole different company that exists and does experiential experiences. It's a new phrase. They do, like the whole shtick with
the immersive,
real life immersive Dungeons and Dragons LARPing, I guess you would consider it.
And like LARPing / escape room, where we can talk
escape
about
room,
it.
I want to talk about that like at length. As its own little topic.
So I would say it's like there's the shopping for sure at the bottom of the pyramid, and then like the entertaining yourself via gaming, and then at the top there's a smaller number of like paid experiences that are in-depth things. Like if you want to play Pathfinder for 14 hours, well, we got a room for that. $2 a game. Each game's 4 to 6 hours or whatever. You can do that if you want.
Yeah.
Are there any panels or anything?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's scheduled speakers, there's panels, there's podcasts, or if like there's a gaming podcast, they're going live at Gen Con. So whoever they are. So like if you're doing I'm sure there's a lot of real play D&D podcasts, like the sponsored ones are probably there, the bigger ones.
Yeah.
For we don't really talk about like D&D's half child, or I guess it would like Pathfinder Paizo, which is basically like D&D 3.5 when they broke off after 4 because 4 was terrible. So but like they have sponsored stuff, they have things and we'd listen to, like they had a live podcast there. We went to a podcast that Mac likes. We listened to a live one. So like there are a lot of panels and like live events that you would buy those tickets to that are scheduled.
There's a film festival every year.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Did you participate in that, Mark? Just being a filmmaker? I
would love to. I actually didn't know it was really a thing until I had already like bought my badge and everything.
And
that sounds like the kind of thing that would be neat.
Yeah, I mean, I know you didn't probably have a chance to create a film for it, but I meant more just like, did you get to check out any of the films or anything?
Yeah, no, I didn't get over there to check those out.
Yeah, that's something that you learn about. And there's
I had it on my list, but then when I started again talking about prioritizing time. I started to put some things on my list that seemed like they were going to be lengthy. So going in to check out like 20 to 30 minute short films, as much as I love them, I kind of thought to myself, I like these are going to end up on YouTube. You know what I mean? So maybe I'll have that experience at home, but I don't, because also going with other people, sometimes you have to balance, you know, would it be better just to demo a game for 30 minutes than sit in the theater while they watch off somewhere else and then I have to find them for an hour?
Yeah. So that's just prioritization of time and preference.
It's like going to an amusement park. You need to be like, okay, we're going to meet underneath the giant kobold statue at booth 3547 if we get separated.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's interesting because I've only been to Comic-Con in San Diego once, and it was a little underwhelming in a sense. Just like I went in there expecting this sort of like amazing, because it's so hard to get in. If you've ever tried to buy tickets to San Diego Comic-Con, it is not easy. And so when I finally got in, I'm just like, is this it? Like, it's just a bunch of booths to buy crap. Yep. So I was a little disappointed, but it sounds like there's quite a bit to do just outside of the shopping experience too.
I think there's a lot, but I could totally see myself, if I didn't have our friends and veterans guiding me, if I had gone just as our own vacation, like we put together a trip out there to check it out, I probably would have had that same sensation. I would be like, man, this badge is a lot for an opportunity to spend more money. Right. Yeah. Even as much as I love shopping, it's a part of every, you know, even when I go camping for vacation, I'm like, well, I should probably go to REI ahead of time and buy some stuff
to enable my camping experience.
Right. Well, so I'm into it, but you know, I think you have to make a plan for sure. Don't just go with the flow if you're going by yourself, because I'm afraid you'd feel like it was money that you're not capitalizing out on, because there's also that FOMO is real when you get a book that's this thick and it has 30,000 events in it and you're like, I have no idea what to do here.
Yeah, you're never going to do all the events, and so that's kind of what you have to focus on, is what you want to get out of it, because there's something in there for everyone. So like when he was talking about like the booths, if you want to go there and you just want to buy games, you want to be check out the new board games, and that's kind of the path that we go down mostly. Like we do True Dungeon and we do some other things, but we're there to check out cool new board games. But that's not like, we consider that to be the main thing because that's what we do. But like while we're going on there, there's like a whole nother room that is just a Magic the Gathering tournament that lasts all weekend. And that's, some people go there specifically for that Magic the Gathering tournament, and they'll check out some other things, but they're there to, you know, to upgrade their decks, to buy and sell their cards, and then to play in the tournament. And then there's like a free play section that's off to the side that like you can demo games there, but there's people playing, like there are games that are so in depth that you may love it and you don't know anybody that will play that game with you. And it's mostly, I'm going to say, the train games like Puff and Billy, the 18XX. If you know what those games are, you're like, they take 40 hours or some bullshit to play because they're very, very slow.
Wow.
But like if that's your passion, like this is one of your chances to play, because it's a meeting of people that like playing Puff and Billy. And so like it's a very tight-knit community, I'm sure, online, but like they're excited and they get together, they set up their games, and then they all meet from wherever they are in the world. And then they play their game they've been looking forward to for, you know, I'm sure they go to more than just this one, but like if that's what you're there, like you're there to play a board game that you just never get a chance to, because nobody, you know, your wife or your friends at home don't want to play a 12-hour train game.
No, Dad, I'm not playing Risk anymore.
Exactly. Like Risk compared to like Puff and Billy, Risk is, you know, nothing. Like we complain about how long Risk takes, but like those, like a lot of those war games, they just
drop in the bucket.
Yeah, there were a lot of like World War II games, a lot of those miniature games where it's like, if you don't live in a mansion because you've bought all the miniatures, so those are mutually exclusive. But you would have to have a table big enough to do like a 12 by 12 table, like that's, and then if like a 4 to 6, I saw like 4 to 6 player miniature games. It's like, when on earth do you have enough time and friends? It's like that's why they call it a mecca, because people have to plan this stuff in advance. And then if you want to do stuff with people that you aren't in a podcast with or have regular contact with, or are just your friends you met on Tabletop Simulator because you play this game together, you know what I mean? Like, how hard is it to get time to do a 20-hour game. We can barely get, like 1 hour actual plays in every couple weeks at this point, so
there's a lot to do. I mean, but if that's what you want to do. So if you want to, like, I think, like, the first time, if you were just there and you just walk around to all the booths, like, there's a lot of booths there, but you would run out of booths to look at after about the second day. And so then you're like, well, I have 2 more days. It's a 4-day event. Like, I have 2 more days. What the fuck am I going to do? Like, and then you kind of get that disappointment. Like, I've already seen it. Let's do other things. But, like, that is, like, when you have to know what else is going on. You have to look. And, like, if you come unprepared and you didn't buy some of those, like, generic tickets are good, but sometimes you can't do everything with a generic ticket. So, like, it's nice to have a couple in your back pocket just in case. Like, oh, cool. Like, oh, you're looking for somebody else. Can I use it? One of their players couldn't make it, so we opened up a spot for generic tickets. Does anybody want to, hop on?
Nice.
And so it is an overwhelming amount to do, but if you don't know about that stuff, it does seem very, like, if it's just the commercialism, it gets very disappointed. And like, if you went there and you didn't know True Dungeon, you heard about it, but you didn't know what it was, and you didn't know about, like, the speakers or the panels, and you just went there with nothing, like, no pre-planning, just to see what this is. Like, I just kind of want to see what it is. Like, it would just be like, oh, okay, it's just people trying to sell me their games.
Which is totally legit. And I think plenty of people did that, and they saved themselves some money by buying a 1 or 2 day weekend pass. Because, like, if you want to come in, check stuff out, or you have such a good plan that you're going to knock it out in a couple hours, just what you want to do. You know what I mean? You don't need to do the Thursday through Sunday gamut. I was exhausted by the end of it.
I bet.
I had actually signed up for a tournament, which is another benefit of this, is that I still play Star Wars Destiny, which the FFG has canceled. So, where else are you going to find a canceled game that's still being run by a fan committee via, Facebook and Patreon that is running? Like, that doesn't exist anywhere except once a year. They're going to do it here now.
That had to have been cool, though, to, like, play your favorite game with people that also share that same passion.
Yeah, it would be cool. If I had made it, it would have been cool.
Okay, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry that you missed it.
We got back from True Dungeon after, like, a late start and some trouble at the gas station at like 3 a.m. and I was supposed to be there at like 8 the next morning.
Yeah.
So it did not work out.
You mean not in a very great state to play competitively in that situation.
Well, that's not a big loss, because I had a deck I had literally never played before. So it wasn't going to go well, but I was going to do it for the fun. Because, again, like, even though I was going to get completely beat up for hours on end, I was like, this is the only chance. Gen Con is the place for some things. It is the only place. And that's awesome.
Really cool. So the thing is, what I'm hearing is like, definitely go with the plan. It's a great place to also connect with some of the niche communities that might be harder to connect with in person, because we're just, like, scattered.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's one area of events that we don't really talk about too much because we don't really do them, but, like, they're there and they're kind of not out a secret. But there are a lot of adult themed things at Gen Con. So there are adult themed games. There's like Nerd Burlesque is, like, one of the events that they do every day. And you usually see a pretty big line for it, like, because we'll be, like, walking back at like 10:30. There'll be a huge line into this random thing, like, what the hell is this? Like, oh, it's Nerd Burlesque. Like, there's, like, a big booth of, like, I don't know what they are. They're like cosplayers, but they're like naughty cosplayers. Like, and the booth has like a
I tried for days to convince Mac to go in there. I was so close. I don't know why he was so skittish about it.
It's like that.
No, he was like, no way on earth. That's
he has that Midwestern
some
guilt.
Things can't be unseen.
Like, yeah, but he has that Midwestern guilt to be like, like, if you know, being attracted to whether male or female forms, sexuality is a spectrum. No shame on this podcast, but there's no shame if you wanted to see that. Like, but it is like that. It is in the Midwest, so there is that, like, people will do like a couple passes of that to, like, leak in. Like, they don't want to walk in through the velvet curtain, but they just want to, like,
they want to be in, like, the trench coat, in the hat.
Yeah, exactly. They're like they're embarrassed to, like, just pop in. I popped in there. It's exactly what you think it is. It's like cosplayers, but the cosplayers wearing little
less
clothing.
clothes.
And
well, see, I was very confused because I thought it was art. I thought it was going to be like, you know, it's topless art of, you know, Overwatch girls or something. You know, some Rule 44 BS.
Yeah.
And I didn't go in, but that's what I assumed it was. And then to my surprise, I turned around and literally right across the way, strategically probably, there was a literal art with like full on nudes. And I was like, oh, that's not an tent. What the hell is in there?
Yeah,
if that's out here,
there's literally just like an 8-year-old boy and me both staring at this painting that's like, I mean, nothing risque. It was like, I guess what you would consider classical art in a fantasy setting, but you know, you can imagine like some just completely full on naked woman laid over a dragon's tail. And I'm like, can they just lay this out in the middle of Indianapolis? Okay.
Absolutely, they can't. Like the waifu pillows, like the very risque waifu pillows, just have like post-it notes over the nipples. Like they have little nipple pasties. It's literal post-it notes.
I did see some of those because
yeah,
some of the paintings they looked, you know, like ruined because they would have like just like little smiley stickers that they would have to like peel off after you purchase them. I guess like and then so you have to walk around with it all day, like this 10 by 10 painting in a frame of like a naked woman laying on treasure. I don't know.
Like that guy's gonna put that in his house.
Yeah, good on him if that's what
we just said. No shame, and then we all started to laugh.
But like, it's kind of funny because I have seen people like they sell those waifu pillows, but like I've seen people walking around with those waifu, but like. Whatever, if that's what you want, that's what you want. I'm not here to shame.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'm laughing out of my own embarrassment. I think you sir, are a badass.
Here's the thing: my wife would not let me put that on there, so it's more of envy than anything else.
Like, if you can buy that 10 by 10 hand painted naked woman on a dragon's tail and walk that shit into your house,
we applaud you.
Put it on the wall of your house.
Good for you. That's what I'm trying to get rid of. You know, that Midwestern shame. We're all Midwestern. That Midwestern shame is hard to shake.
It is,
and so it's like. It is very funny because it is in the Midwest, so you do have like a lot of that stuff. But like, and then on the other side, there's people that are open about it, like, you know, like, and it's not like it's you know, there's very little. I mean, it is gaming, so there is like some body shaming culture, but in general, there's a lot of like body positivity. Like, you know, you can buy like sexy outfits for ladies, and they come in all sizes. Like, you can buy. And they like they sell like corsets and things like that. So like there's things for the ladies too that I don't even look at.
Yeah, and that's actually something important to bring up because we were talking about how niche things get when it comes to games, and in the slant of accessibility, which gaming I think is on the bleeding edge of a lot of that culture these days.
I think now as we see more shift with like indie developers and more diverse people creating games.
Yeah, it's like there is a push in the industry, but that is a grassroots thing. Like D&D has been a haven for us weirdos for so long, and I think that was one of the cool things about Gen Con is you know, people laugh and snicker and stuff about like safe spaces and being able to like be among you know, your people and all those kind of euphemisms that people think are goofy. But honest to God, it's true. And it's so much fun to be like, I'm going to go into something like True Dungeon. I'm going to go in to this booth where they sell, you know, like handmade dice bags made of leather and chainmail and stuff. And the dude's wearing a chainmail suit and like no one is going to think that I'm the weird one here because someone's wearing a tail. Someone's dressed as a Mandalorian. Like someon has spent $100,000 on True Dungeon.
There's like cosplay. There's cosplay all. There's like a cosplay contest on Saturday, but like if you walk around, there's going to be like number one, there's cosplay of everything, and about 50% of the guys are Deadpool, and 50% of the ladies are Harley Quinn every time. You just see like and there'll always be like a collection of the Deadpools. They're just like a Deadpool. There's like a cowboy Deadpool. There's like Star Wars Deadpool. Yeah, there's just everybody's like, I want to be a Deadpool. Like, because it's really easy. You just get like a bodysuit, like a green scene bodysuit,
red gimp suit.
Yeah, but it's fun. But yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. But it's.
But no, it's the same. It's the same thing for whatever cool stuff you collect or wear or want to do. Like that niche is probably there. It's there for you. And if it's not, that is a place where someone is going to be like, oh, cool, you're carving that out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, cool. You have a booth that's making 3D printed, really niche items or whatever. But that also goes for things like, oh, super cool. You're into LARPing and, make the coolest foam swords on the market, because granted, it's a small market, but like that's some nerd stuff that has just been made fun of forever, except at Gen Con. So like lean into that shit and put on your weird costumes, craft all the stuff at home, customize all your games the way you want, just like have fun with it. And there's someone there who's going to walk by you and be like, sweet, I had a similar idea,
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like a place where you can just like really be yourself, regardless of what you're into. You can just come as you are and really enjoy yourself.
Yeah, if you collect naked women laying on dragon paintings, like we got you at Gen Con.
You have a harem of waifu pillows. Like,
well, hang on, like,
it doesn't matter.
Are there any naked dudes laying across Dragon Treasure? Like,
I saw no one hanging dong, to be fair. I don't know if we're that accessible yet. Maybe we have more work to do.
Yeah, it's still the Midwest where you will see 20,000 boobs before you see a ween. It's just it is the Midwest, and
we need the ween more represented in our.
I'm all for it. Hashtag free the ween. I'm all for it. But they're like, there are. It is definitely still kind of like it's breaking out of that male dominated, like it's I would say it's probably 80-20 male female.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And there's a lot, like, females a lot more representative in game making than it was. And
that'll shift the player base eventually, but that's the kind of thing that takes time.
Yeah, and so you're going to get that, but like, a lot of the stuff is it's just there's more market there's more males there, so everything's more marketed towards males.
I mean, it's one of the things that I thought I kind of laughed at, because it was just like, of course, and it was indicative of just the fandom in general for gaming. They have, to their credit, at the will call booth, they have little things you can kind of flares you can add to your badges and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, these little tags. There you go, at the bottom. So for the free ones, there's ones for specific things you've done or whatever. But one of them that they just give out to everyone, they've got pronouns, of course. So you can slap your pronouns on there to help everybody identify you. Gen Con again is all about accessibility for everyone for all reasons, not just like disabilities, but like safe space for all different types of peoples.
Yeah.
So they're all into it, and of course the stack of like he him pronouns at most of the booths are like dwindled down or completely gone, because like 80% of the people there are guys and identify as such. So that I thought was kind of funny, because the she her stacks and the they them stacks and the other pronouns, there were a lot of those to be had at each booth, because the guys were like snatching up all of those, which is just funny. But at the same time, the organizers and everything have done such a good job to even have those things available that it sets just an amazing tone. Like the very first page of the booklet and posted everywhere are there rules on like harassment and even rules for inside of games, like how do you play a game and just like be cool about it, even if, like we were talking about earlier, awesome. win lose draw, like we're here to have fun. So it's a lot about just a cool culture that it's a mixture of them doing what the people want, and also I think the people being like, yeah, you guys as Gen Con should kind of push the issue and police things and make sure it's cool with everybody. But it's definitely a male dominated thing as much as it's shifting.
Yeah. Well, it's got an interesting history. Indianapolis specifically, because didn't Gen Con threaten to pull out when I think it was Mike Pence, before he was vice president, was trying to ban gay people in Indianapolis or something?
Yeah, they threatened and they got it reversed. It was like they have a lot of power, because this is a big convention, like the biggest, like this is I think one of the biggest ones in Indy. Like Indy Convention Center has other stuff, but like I would think Gen Con, it's 4 days, it's huge, it basically shuts the entire downtown area down.
They use the entire every room inside the convention center and the Lucas Oil Stadium
and the football stadium,
wow.
where the Colts play is also used. And
so I mean, it's a big deal.
And all the hotel stuff too, like not just the convention center, but like all the hotel conference rooms are used too in the downtown hotels. It is.
Restaurants, everyone's involved.
We were 20, 30 minutes from downtown or something at, a hotel off the beaten path, you might say, just kind of because everything was booked up and trying to save some money, etc.
Probably really expensive to stay near.
Yeah, even out there every night, you'd, pull in, you'd pop your trunk and grab all your board games, and there's 2 or 3 people pulling in at the same place 20 miles away.
You won't leave those precious board games in your car overnight.
No, because you're going to play them until 4:00.
Yeah.
In the morning. But
well, there's also something I wanted to ask you about, both of you, and this is like highly subjective and maybe even like a little bit sensitive, just with money. I'm talking about budget. How much, and I know this is tough, but like, how much could you consider budgeting if you wanted to go to Gen Con and have like a good Gen Con experience? I know that's highly subjective, but like with the cost of tickets, cost of travel, lodging, food, and then like wanting to buy stuff, like can you just comment like on how much a person could expect to spend realistically?
I probably spent with everything probably close to $400 to $500. With the because the I don't know how much the tickets are now, but they're over, for the 4-day pass, it's over 100. The True Dungeon, it's getting bigger, but they're getting way more expensive. So each one of those is like $80 now. So if you want to do all 3, it's $240 right there. When they started going up that, I made the decision not to buy all 3, just because that was a lot. $240 was a lot for me to do for True Dungeon.
And you've done it a few times, like before, right? So you've had the experience and.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's getting bigger, and they put a lot of effort into that. And if that's what you like it's definitely worth $80. I don't want to like shame them for price. Like the price increase has followed the increase in quality, and like they have to rent bigger rooms, and everything is very cool, well worth it. But like, is it if you go the third time, like it's different things, but there's a diminishing return, obviously, if you go the third time. So I would think that if you wanted to go for one day, don't try to cheap out for like under $100. Like just imagine it's $100 a day, and that's for food, and that probably maybe a little bit more with the hotel. But just on the Gen Con stuff, the tickets, the games you'd want to buy, the events, all that stuff, I would say $100 a day.
Easily. Okay. Yeah.
Minimum. That's what you got to budget, at least that. You could always go more.
Yeah. Yeah. You can always go premium.
You could always go more, but I would say, for a 4-day event, $500.
Okay. No, that's a good context.
That's not a bad estimate, I don't think. Like your 4-day badge this year was $125. I mean, that's an investment right up front. But they're clever enough that they do some finagling. So like if you want to go one day, which is Saturday, right? Because what other day would you choose if you're only going one day? That's $80. Yeah. So it's like it was worth it to go all 4 days, but then of course you got to add in the hotel and food, like you said. But I would say that's probably not an unreasonable amount. I think if I went back, I'd probably only do 1 True Dungeon. I did 2, which was cool. But I would save myself, I think, the $80 or so. I think it was $89.
Yeah, probably. I'm saying 80 was when I went last in like 2019. So
yeah,
I'm sure it's probably more now.
So I think the other thing is, those little tricks when you're in a big situation like that are to like, think about what things are actually only available there. That helps you budget. I think one important thing is like try to make a day that is a shopping day if you could, so that you're like, oh, I'm going to do it all today. And then you get a chance to maybe think, oh, I'll pick that up later this weekend if I want. But that way you've got your stuff knocked out, or at the very least, look at what you spent. Like I laid out the second day, I laid out all the games that I had bought the first morning. And in my head, I was like 20, 45. And I kind of calculated it up. So when I walked on the floor the next day, I wasn't going to spend another $100 because I had the previous day.
Yeah. It's easy too. Just like, oh, swipe mine.
Yeah. And like, even I made some purchases that I probably didn't need to because they're available really anywhere. But the excitement of the con, having your friends there where you're like, oh, I wanted to get this. And they're like, that does look tight. Like, yeah, I would try that too. And I could have probably got it at my, local game store. I could have got a copy on eBay used or something if I'd really been thinking about it and budget minded. But you're excited, you're there, it's in the moment. I plopped down an extra $25. Wasn't expecting to.
Yeah.
So you got to leave yourself some wiggle room and stuff like that. But if all else fails, go out and get yourself one of those prepaid Visa gift cards that works anywhere. Put as much money as you're allowed to spend on games, and then like when that sucker runs out, you're done.
Just buy all your games with cash. Take out money. I mean, probably not a good idea to carry around hundreds of dollars worth of cash. Like, I can't imagine
a foam sword might hold you up.
I mean, it's just with the people. There's bumping into people a lot. It's crowd.
Someone never got sticky hands. I guarantee it.
But guarantee you, somebody in there that like they can't wait for Gen Con because they're going to walk around all these oblivious people that are just fascinated and walking around not paying attention and just pickpocket. But
I think the thing that always trips me up, and this goes for any sort of vacation or anything I do for fun, is like the incidental stuff I always forget about. Or not forget about, but it's just like, how much is food? Like when I'm not at home, I have to eat 3 times a day. And that costs $10 at least a meal, even if you're going to like McDonald's, dollar menu at this point. You know what I mean? So it's like those kind of things are nice to plan out ahead of time.
Such a human problem to have.
Yeah. I mean, another thing that I realized about Gen Con is that like there's cool bars and restaurants and everything, and like everybody's like, let's go get some good food and have like a bunch of beers.
Yep.
So you got to budget for those kind of things outside of the confines of the conference itself.
But I guess there's some nice ways to offset the cost. Like if you do an Airbnb or a hotel with friends, you could set off, or travel with friends, you could set off some of those costs.
Yeah. And there's a lot of tips to save on that stuff. Obviously, you split a hotel room with a bunch of dudes. Like you're not going to be in that hotel room very much because you're going to get back late and you're going to want to wake up early to get breakfast before you go. So like you're only in there for the 8 hours that you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
Like you're not hanging out in there. We've tried to hang out in there and played games before, but there's not enough time.
Yeah.
And then like if you want to pick up games in general, like if the game's popular by first, like the Star Wars Villainous, like that was going to sell out first day. Like it's just guaranteed, no matter how many.
That was the consensus, so I jumped in for that.
It's going to, but everything else, like if it's not super popular, like it's been out for a couple of years, but you're interested in it, buy it Sunday, because a lot of these vendors, they don't want to ship back their merchant their stock.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. So like. If it's $50 game, they may sell it for $30 that last day. If it's in stock. So if it's something that like, oh, this would be cool to have, but I don't need it. Just wait and go that last day. And everybody, don't do that to the indie gamers because that's a dick move.
Do it to the big guys who have lots of money.
Because that's the ones like the guys that sell. They have that booth and they sell a bunch of different games from a bunch of different. They're a game seller. Like I forget the names of them. They have booths there, and they don't want, they don't want to sell back stock. They're all about profits. The indie game, he probably has like 2 tubs worth of games and he drove in his van. And so like, it doesn't cost him any to bring back those games that he doesn't sell. Don't haggle with indie gamers.
Support them.
Yeah. It's kind of a dick move because like, especially if it's the last day and they haven't sold a lot, like, oh, I'm going to profit off of their disfortune where they have a lot of copies left. Like, no, that's bad. But yeah, like the game resellers, it's a 4-year-old game. It looks cool. just tell them the last day, like, hey, it says 50 on here. Can I get it for 30? They're like, yeah, sure. Because I don't want to fucking send it back.
Take it.
Another thing I did accidentally, I picked up a starter set for a D&D reskin thing. And I didn't realize until I got home, but I was like, otherwise I would have paid shipping on this box. So I actually saved myself a couple bucks. I told
justification.
Last
question on buying stuff for you guys. And this is like a weird pragmatic one. You're buying all these board games. How are you carrying all this stuff around? Do they give you bags and stuff? I'm just imagining Mark with his armful of games.
That's how it started. And then Taylor was like, would you like to use my bag? And I was like, I would, because I don't know what I'm doing. But that's a hot tip, because luckily they went to Upper Deck first to get promos for Legendary.
So they love their promos.
If you can get to one of the bigger companies, especially, they all had these sweet bags that they're making you into a giant billboard for them. But the bags they gave out were like, literally, I can't even do it on the screen how big it was.
They're like, AEG is another one that does that. Like, if you get the AEG bag, it is like think about like a satchel, and then just like blow it up 300%.
There's reusable grocery bags, but they know you're going to put like Gloomhaven and an expansion in it, so they really beef them up. But so
reinforced straps.
Like, poor Taylor had to carry around my like really heavy full copy of Villainous, which weighs like 3 pounds extra in his bag one afternoon.
Thank you, Taylor.
But if you can hit up one of the bigger companies that look around, because you'll see the branding on the bags and swing by and be like, hey, can I grab one of those bags? Because they've got a bunch of advertisements in it. And then if you buy something from them, they definitely will give you a bag.
Cool. Yeah, I remember in Comic-Con just seeing people outside walking with these like massive sacks, like Santa Claus style sacks of stuff.
That's what it is.
It's required a lot of digging, but I think I might start working on a supercut of my footage of just every moment I can find of a ridiculously large backpack.
Yes, please do. That'd be fun.
There's
like, I'm going to start a tally of them, because there were companies selling them there, like these backpacks that were like 38 inches deep and had shelves and stuff in them for all your minis and board games.
Board games are big.
Board games are heavy. Some of those
if you're playing
games,
Warhammer for 10 hours, like, how are you even going to bring that stuff there?
I'm surprised they don't just give you shopping carts.
You couldn't fit a shopping cart. It is nut to butt in there. Like,
you
can't.
Yeah.
Okay. It is.
Yeah, it
is so crowded
overwhelming.
That like there's no way that you could have like people with strollers. I felt bad for them. Like, I don't know. Like, I understand you have kids and you still want to go.
I wouldn't bring my child there.
Yeah, just bring a babysitter, just because you are not going to be able to like. And also I don't think it's just the type of people that are there, but it's just the amount of people. If 1% of the people have no situational awareness and they'll stop in the middle of an aisle to just look around, and then all of a sudden everybody, you have to like emergency stop, or you're just going to literally run into them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
if you're like me, like an asshole with a camera, sometimes I would look around and realize that I was standing in a bunch of people's way.
You're the asshole.
There's like 2,000 people trying to get around me because I'm
like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like, it is like just logistics of it, I guess. Not just like how to carry stuff, but how to move around in there. Like, it's in a grid pattern. Just go back and forth up, follow the flow.
Maneuver.
Yeah. Just go the same speed as everybody else. Like, if you get separated, you'll know where you are. Don't try to like weave in between people. That's kind of I don't know. It's
and that's another reason. Oh, sorry.
Etiquette.
Go ahead.
No, just like floor etiquette.
Yeah, it's just normal like crowd etiquette. Like, just like if you were going to a sports game or anything like that. Like, don't move, like push, like swim through people, because like they're trying to do the same thing as you. Look at the games, and so like, I'm more important. Excuse me, like I want to look at these games faster than you, like, or before you. Like, dude, like get in line. Like, that's what everybody's doing. Like, enjoy it. Take your time. It's going to take, like, there's a reason why it takes 2 days to go through that thing. If there's nobody there, you could look at every single booth in probably like 4 hours. But with everybody there, it's going to take 2 days just because you are walking at like a half a mile an hour.
That's another reason I think it might be good if you're that kind of person to consolidate your shopping into a 1-day type sitch, because then you've only got to worry about those logistics once. You get one giant bag, you fill it up, take it, drop it in your hotel during lunch or whatever, or before your dinner break or whenever you get a chance. Also, the parking situation was nice. I mean, there's tons of parking everywhere. So if you do bring a car, they've got shuttles and stuff. So if you wanted to do like run out to the shuttle, go to your car, drop your stuff in the trunk, and then head back to the floor, you know, if you're buying super expensive games or something, obviously it's a city and there's a lot of people there who at the time know what stuff's worth. So be careful.
Awareness.
But you could do that and probably be off the floor for 20 minutes or so to be dropping stuff off and get the shuttle back. So it wouldn't be a huge deal if you came with the plan to like literally stock up, you know, on all the stuff you want. But it is something you want to think about ahead of time, because you're going to lose some time juggling boxes or dropping stuff off at your hotel or car or whatever.
Those Cool Mini or Not games, they're heavy. You know, they're like 20 to 30 pounds, and I'm not exaggerating. Like,
and if you got like multiple
Gloomhaven or anything like that, or Zombicide or any of those games that have like a shitload. I think those are both Cool Mini or Not. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, they're hefty. That's how you know that. Like, I kind of like, if a game's like $80 and I pick it up, I'm like, oh, that's why it's $80.
You can feel it. You can feel the price.
Got the heft. Yeah, you're like,
it's $80 worth of high quality plastic minis in there. You can tell.
Yeah. So maybe that useless piece of plastic.
Yeah, maybe just buy that on the way out, so you're not carrying, like, unless it's going to be the first thing. Yeah, I mean, like, Villainous would sell quick, but like if you're going to buy Twilight Imperium or Zombicide or any of that stuff, like, there's probably enough copies that you can wait till the end of day one, buy it on your way out.
Yeah,
you're not carrying around 40 pounds worth of shit.
I literally saw a guy with a Gloomhaven, like the set, the big, main set, and then like some kind of expansions or other stuff from that publisher, like stacked on top. And he's literally like
spine. Yeah.
Like
spine
doing this through the crowd, like trying to peek over his boxes.
Good thing I didn't have like a dolly or something.
And if you're gonna, you
pull that shit around.
That's what it's classic mistake. If
you
don't realize weight gets heavier over time. A glass of water is light until you have to hold it for an hour.
Yeah, Bill knows about that. Ruckin in the army.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I know. Yeah.
All right, so Mark, you said that you got into a lot of trouble at Gen Con. Can we please talk about that? I want to hear the juicy deets, the gossip.
Yeah,
what's the sip?
I mean, I feel like I got into trouble as much as you can in like a group of socially awkward nerds where like no one is really going to step up to be the one to yell at you. But I got there.
Previous punk rocker, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So I realized actually in that the first episode of the Gen Con vlog that we're going to have up, I also got yelled at. And I've pieced it together since. It's all related to the same thing. I do not interact well with True Dungeon. Apparently,
generally,
yeah. So, totally green. I don't know anything, and none of my 3 compatriots are going to clue me in ahead of time. Really,
I just want to watch it crash and burn.
Yeah. So the first thing was going like the reseller booth. I got yelled at over there. You can see that in the video.
Can you describe that? That was a pretty funny situation.
I had no idea that they I mean, it makes sense once it's explained to you, I guess, but I had no idea True Dungeon was like such a thing. I mean, I understand it as this big escape room D&D mashup with, cool games inside and puzzles, and it's a group activity. So I've got all this in my mind and everything. And then I start to learn about the tokens that come with it, where basically all of your abilities, not your abilities, but like your gear and stuff, they simulate those random draws with poker chips, more or less, that are custom to the game and have, a cool helmet on them and stuff. So that's how you customize yourself. And I'm like, okay, this is getting deep again. Gen Con's all about the nerdy niche. So like, let's get into it. This is cool. And then you get to keep those items. At the end, you get treasure. So you're pulling random items. Some of these are rare, obviously, because what good addiction doesn't have rarity involved when it comes to gaming. So
give me my dopamine hit.
I then discover that, of course, there's a secondary market. Even True Dungeon themselves run a secondary market for tokens where you can take a whole bunch of commons, let's say, you trade them in and you transmute them into an uncommon or a rare or some other random, thing that you can get. All very cool, very fantasy oriented. Honestly makes the game, I think, for a lot of people. Like, yes. That's, it's the thing you can collect. It's the thing you get to put in the puck and you slide at your sword on a big shuffleboard to hit a target, and that's how your sword's doing damage. It's all really neat and well thought out, which of course makes the secondary market valuable. Mm-hmm. So I don't know any of this, and I walk up to the booth and I'm trying to do this vlog thing, and I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to vlogging either. Like, I do like corporate documentaries.
Well, you did a great job.
More often than not. So I'm, a little tentative or whatever at first. And I'm like, oh, it's cool. I'm going to check this out. So I'm running my camera around and everything. And basically I got too close to like the good shit. And a guy came over and I saw him out of my peripheral vision. So I just like, I was like, something, the speed with which this booth attendant is coming in my direction. I've done enough with cameras in public places.
I was going to say, like, there's a feeling that you get as a photographer.
Yeah, like I saw the recognition of what I was doing, and I clocked it out of my peripheral vision. And then I saw him jet towards me. So I was like already putting my camera down because I was like, I've done something wrong. And before he had even made it up to me, he was, kind of like getting his hand up to block me, and was telling me like, don't lean over the booth. And I was like, oh, my bad. Like, I didn't. And they had glass cases. So then I got confused because like, oh, it's not the camera. He was afraid I was going to like put my weight and break this or something. It's like, my bad, okay, sorry, or whatever. And he's like, oh, we don't like people photographing it. But he said it in this way that really threw me off because I was like, I don't know. But he said it in like an of course way. And then that like Mac,
it's just like not clear. Like, don't photograph this.
Yeah, I mean, there's
like,
no signs.
Like people doing that. Like, well, if you don't like it, I can still do it. It's just not going to make you happy. Like, there's a difference there.
Also, that's true. Yeah, it's like, is this a preference?
Is this an order or a request?
And I didn't see any signs. I don't think I really looked for signs, honestly. Maybe they had one hanging way in the back or something. But it's just like a bucket full of tokens to me. So then I find out later that, pretty much immediately after, Mac made a joke. He's like, what are we going to do? Go make a copy of it? And I was absolutely blown away because apparently that is what they worry about. And of course, everybody else knew as I walk up there with my camera that they don't like you taking pictures for this reason. And then, my friends just didn't say anything as I got yelled at.
Like, watch this, what's about to happen to Mark.
So I guess they're worried that you could take a picture, then put it onto your computer, and then print that image at a high quality enough that it would fool anyone onto a sticker, and then place that sticker onto a token, which is literally looked more complicated than a actual United States government issued quarter.
Yeah.
With the amount of security, like it had their logo and the edges were all like professionally done. Like, this is not like someone just printed out a 3D puck. It is minted in some sort of plastic token minting machine. They also, I have learned since, put RFID chips in some of the rares and like ultra rares so that they can scan them and prove that they are not forgeries. And the one that I had, unbeknownst to me, gotten my camera near was a token that increases the number of tokens you get to draw. So it is the one token that makes you draw more tokens, which everybody wants. and the price tag is astronomical. So this guy pounced on me. Yeah. It's wild.
Do people actually pay for these?
Yes, absolutely.
There were 2 of them in their case.
Yep.
And I mean, we swung by. I almost bought just a random pack of tokens from the True Dungeon people themselves because I was like, this is cool. Like, are we going to play later? I don't have any weapons yet. And Jake was like, I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, do not buy tokens.
Yeah, he has a binder full. He comes fully equipped. And if you go with someone who knows what they're doing, a lot of times, like, and we'll do it too. Like, it can play up to 10 people, and we never have 10. So, like, you get, like, you get paired with other people, and if they're really, really good and they spend a lot of money, they'll have like their hand-me-downs are better than your better stuff. And a lot of times, like,
we did that. Jake was running around equipping some other, like, he had like character sheets for me, and then there were other people who were new, and he was like, "What are you playing?" And he just like pulled out a whole sheet.
Yeah,
and these are all my monk weapons.
Yeah, we are at the point now. We, meaning Jake and Mac mostly, and I guess I played for 5 years, so a lot of them shits are mine too. But yeah, like we are at the point where like we are like that upper mid-level tier, so we can equip like, we have enough equipment that we can share it around, and then like you write it down and then you give it back to them because you don't have to keep it. Like this is like a little board. You put your helm, you put your chest, you put all that stuff.
Yeah, that's wild.
A guy marks it down, adds it all up, and then after that, then you like give them shits back to me. Like, don't, because like, or like if you have to let somebody borrow your weapon because you have to use it the entire time. Like at the end of the game, you're giving that shit back. Like no doubt about it. Like they are.
Yeah.
This is like money. You're basically like letting people borrow. Essentially.
Yeah. Like, so, I didn't know. It honestly just makes me want to try to forge them to see if it's even possible. No, I'm just kidding. I honestly don't think it would be worth the time and effort for anyone to fake those things. But I'll give it to him.
Anyways, it was all some True Dungeon, or want to profit off of people who love True Dungeon.
Yeah.
It was all very confusing, and I got pretty salty about it because I was just like embarrassed and called out, and I had no idea why. And the guy at the booth like didn't explain it. He's just like, well, obviously. And I was like, okay, I won't like be thrilled about your booth. Like my bee, I'll just like wander away. But then the one that I was actually kind of worried about was, like doing the whole vlog thing. I was like, well, True Dungeon, the first time ever, like, guess who's bringing their camera? And despite the fact that the token thing happened first, I still had it in my mind that I was going to take some pictures and videos like during the True Dungeon. So I got 1.5 pictures, but on the second picture, I literally like I was like between rounds. There's kind of nothing going on, so I just like walked over, and there was a cool decoration in the room, and I just had my phone, and I like held my phone up, and this guy was like standing over my shoulder, and I guess he was giving me the benefit of the doubt, which was nice, maybe. That I was doing that I was doing anything other than holding my phone at this like weird angle to take a photo of the stuff in the room. But like the second I hit the like camera app, he was like, "Hey, like no pictures. Have you taken pictures yet?" And I was like, No, I didn't take any pictures.
Roll deception.
But like, I had already taken a couple pictures like behind his back, and he hadn't noticed, and I didn't notice I was doing it on the sly. So that's why I like got caught to begin with. But literally, like it's dark. It's like they're trying to pump up the drama and stuff with like everything. I was taking a picture of this automaton thing that like every once in a while would like actually move.
That's cool.
So like my nerves were a little high, but when he like pounced on me that time, I like literally like kind of jumped. I was like, oh my God, like I'm so sorry. And my brain was like, here you go. You just paid all of you and your friends just paid $90 each, and they're gonna kick your dumbasses out of True Dungeon. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, it's my bad. Like blah, blah. And I was like rambling a little bit, but then in that I said like I didn't know it was my first time. Which luckily, because he was like, one of the DMs, he was like, oh, okay, yeah. And then he explained, like, this is all secret. And, we just want to keep it a secret until everybody gets to go through it. So we don't want people posting things. And I was just like, totally get it. I understand. Like, you spent all year working on this stuff. And if I post it to Twitter, like, which I wasn't going to, but I was going to put it in a video later, which I guess now doesn't matter after the fact. But no, it was just really funny, and everybody was like laughing at me. And then we were with, there were 3 of us, so the 7 other people in our party were all, most of them were like veterans and stuff that were just literally like fucking noobs. You come in here trying to take pictures of the bosses, like they're never going to let you do that.
Well, I appreciate the effort for trying to collect some content.
So I have one picture of one shuffleboard that is illicit, and True Dungeon cannot know exists.
Salacious.
So come to our website and we'll post it there.
We're gonna post the shit out of it. I'll use that as a cover photo.
Yeah. Let's make a whole Patreon where you just pay $1 just to see that one picture.
Brilliant. Genius. All right, well, let's talk a little bit more about True Dungeon. So like let's kind of like maybe we can wrap up with this topic. Just tell me about True Dungeon.
Well, True Dungeon is a combination of like they alternate rooms between like a puzzle room, like an escape the room, and fighting a monster. So escape the room is exactly what you normally think it would be. It's a puzzle, you got to solve it. You have 12 minutes per room because it's a cycle that a new person, a new group enters the dungeon every 12 minutes, and then you just you move rooms. Okay. And so even if you don't solve the puzzle, you go to the next room, but like you take damage, or there are consequences if you don't solve the puzzle. Same thing for killing the monster. I'll talk about the puzzle rooms, and I'll let Mark talk about the fighting rooms, just so we make it even. But yeah, the puzzle rooms are cool. They're all unique. They have a lot of time and effort put into these rooms. So they're like electronic puzzles where like things light up based on what you touch, and there's physically moving like things, like so there'll be glyphs. You have to move this to match up to other things. So it's very immersive and like tactile too. Like it's very cool. The puzzle rooms are my favorite. They are not Mac and Jake's favorite. Mac and Jake are very, very quiet and very, very shy. But they are very, very, Mac gets very, very angry, but he won't say anything. So like if they'll be doing something wrong, Mac won't correct them because he doesn't want to like put himself out. So he'll just be back in the corner, just muttering to himself the right way to do things and just getting angry at how dumb they are. And I'm like, just tell him. And meanwhile, like when I played, I am the opposite of that. Like I walk in, I'm like, all right, I'm in charge. You do this. Who's doing that? Like, and somebody's doing, that's a dumb idea. Don't do it anymore. And like, you need somebody like the room commander. And that's just how I am in real life.
Bill's military experience takes
it is. Somebody's got to get in, like, because you have because a lot of times it is like different groups, and people will like huddle with their little groups, and like they'll try to figure out this while somebody else is figuring out this.
People come in pairs or like threesomes a lot. I noticed.
Yeah,
we had like 3 groups of 3 and a random on one, and then another one we had like 3, 3, 2, 1 or something.
Yeah.
So when you're in these groups, are you in character?
Oh yes. Well, I'm always in character. I always play the bard because I sing. Because of course I do.
Yeah.
And
why wouldn't you?
Everybody listening's like, I know this guy. I played with this guy before.
So like when I perform, is like, you can just say, you go up to like the DM, because if your room has like a guide who's there, and so like you just tell them what you're doing, and I always be like, I'm going to perform, and they'll just write it down. But then I will just sing, awesome songs. So I'll sing like Man of War, or I'll sing like 80s metal, because of course, why not? Strike when the iron is hot. Like and it's very loud, but I'm walking around singing it. Everybody else, I think they have a good time. Nobody's angry. But I think that's way more fun than like just like everybody sitting around, not in character. Like I like to be in character or whatever, but a lot of times it is just like an escape the room. Like your assigned character is really just for like the combat.
Okay.
The escape the room is not really like, it's just solve the puzzle in 12 minutes, or you guys get hurt by lava or something like that. But
what about like you said perform? What about other ability checks or spells? Like if you're a bard or a wizard?
Check it out.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I have mine too. I should.
I've got.
Who were you?
So my second run, we like I said, there was some car trouble in the late start, which was our fault. The gas station machine took the card to get some gas, and then like literally the clamp thing wouldn't ever let it go. So like we couldn't get it out. It was a thing. So we showed up late, which meant that they were trying to get me into fighter roles because that's a lot of the sliding pucks. And I thought that would be better for me because the alternative is a lot of just rote memorization.
Not my strength.
So the fighters and like melee weapons and ranged weapons, even some wands, I think, well, because they're ranged weapons, get put into little discs that are magnetic and they hold the tokens and then slid on the shuffleboard onto an image of the baddie, which is broken into different quadrants, for lack of just different sections, not necessarily quadrants, but they'll all be numbered. So that's your hit. So the eyeball of a cyborg might be the 20. The golden hook of a pirate might be the 20 on a different bad guy, kind of thing. So then each puck around its perimeter has numbers. So I had a sword, and the value of the attack orients on the slide board to a particular, basically critical point. So if you're sliding and your disc comes in, you kind of want to try to get it towards the cyborg's eye so you can get a 20 on your roll. But then you also, if you can manage to twist it so that the 7 damage on your sword is pointed towards that little dot, you get that much damage. So there's a lot to think about.
That's cool.
And I thought that would be easier.
Shuffleboard's hard.
Yeah. It was easy, and it's like the good amount of challenge. Like it's hard enough, but then kind of by the last boss, I was like, oh, I might have this down. And then this was my sheet. You wear these around your necks. This was for the second time a cleric. And they give you your stat breakdown and everything. Your HP's measured along the side. And then you have your spells slots and descriptions. So you would go up and I'd say, I want to do cure minor wounds because someone got hit pretty bad. Let's top them off real quick. The DM marks on your sheet with a permanent marker. Okay, so you've only got 4 of those slots. But the cool thing about cleric and the other casters is that's where the memorization comes in, because during your little training session, you get one of those 10 or 15 minutes, however much it is. One of those slots at the very beginning is a room with all of the adventuring gear. So there's a shuffleboard you can practice with. There is a chart of elements that casters may have to like call to by pointing. The DM will say, to cast that spell, you have to show me like water and lightning or something like that. So they have to point to the 2 sections on the chart that aligns to those symbols. And the cleric had 15 minutes to memorize a string of like 20 beads, and each one had its own unique carving. And that carving corresponded to a word. And the DM would literally be like, if you want to cast cure wounds, tell me about this bead. And he would hold up a bead with a certain flower carved on it. And I would have to be like, that flower looks like this. And I memorized that as the symbol for grace. So I would be like, that's grace. And he would be like, your cast was a success. Give that character this many health HP. Yeah. And then I run over to them and I'm like, move your HP up. So I actually loved the casting when I was so afraid of it. And we got there, we were locked in because there's only so many roles and we were the last ones there. So I was like, I don't get to be the fighter. I don't get to play it simple. So then I was like trying to memorize those beads like a crazy banshee. And like, I didn't think I was going to pull it off. I didn't miss a single cast. Like everything was full strength the entire game. So I was like really happy about that. And a cool thing I didn't realize afterwards is that even if you're a caster and you completely mess up, you say the wrong bead, you point to the wrong symbol, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a 1, you've rolled a 1 and it's a total fail. It just means the DM might be like, okay, you could have given them 10 HP, you're only going to get 5. Or, your attack could have done 20 damage, I'm only going to give you 8 or whatever. Yeah. So it's not like an outright situation where you can just play the game and fail for $90 for an hour.
That's fortunate.
Yeah, they've thought about how to make it interesting. And if you're a caster, there were times where it didn't make sense for me to throw out any heals or anything, so I would spend my action attacking. So, I would bust out a melee weapon and do the sliding, even as a cleric. So it was really neat. And I would say it's kind of, it's like Bill said, escape room. It definitely has that aspect. It has that kind of shuffleboard kinetic game. It's almost kind of like, it is shuffleboard, but it feels dungeon fighter-y, that game where you roll a dice onto the target.
Yeah.
Or kind of, like those old school games, Break the Ice, those kinetic games you used to just have fun getting good at.
Yeah.
And then the whole experience overall is built like almost like a really well done community haunted house. They have like the fake walls are all thematic and they're made of, stone looking plastic that are set up where you can't, you can see the roof of the convention room or whatever, but like the lights are off, everything's dim and lit weird. And you walk through these curtains to go from one room to another. There's a grotto with water in it and water effects.
Oh, wow.
And they have real people who volunteer to play characters. So you might have somebody who's helping you out with a puzzle. You might have somebody who's helping you out in one room and stabbing you in the back in the next. Some pirates came out during one of our adventures and, were like heckling us standing next to their shuffleboards, like while we were trying to take them out and like acting out the hits and kind of getting into the role play.
That is cool.
They go for it. It is like a really cool community theater that like knows their stuff and how to pull off a good experience.
I want to be a volunteer. That sounds like fun to be like a pirate.
Yeah, and there's tons of benefits. They were advertising them. You can like get free game sessions. You can get badges for the whole weekend if you come early and help them set up and stuff.
If you do enough sessions, like you can even get like your hotel room comps. It's that they're not, none of those guys are paid, but yeah, they're paid based on get extra tokens or if you do 2 or 3.
I think it'd just be a fun experience too to like participate in that capacity, being on the other side. And like the DM is there to facilitate a good role-playing experience. Like if you're volunteering, it's the same.
You gotta you have to be also like in the, because you have 12 minutes. Like if you get a DM who can't add up math good, you're not. It's so frustrating because like everybody's like when you're doing that shuffleboard, like you just like go, like rotate. It's fast because each round everybody shuffles
like a fight.
Then he adds up but like you can tell like a DM who's just doing it and he's not good, and so like he's very slowly like adding up like everybody's damage. You're like, no, add it up now, like we want to go again, like because he has to wait until all right, next turn, like. And so there'll be times where we're doing everything right and we only get like 3 turns in like a 12-minute session because he's just that slow. And we're just
sounds like a round of D&D.
Yeah, we were only getting 3. I think in one of them we got 4 slides in.
Yeah.
But and like I felt like the people were hustling, but it was intense in a way that I wasn't expecting because it is like
if you take too long, they will yell at you. They're like, get the hell out of the way. Like, especially if you roll and then you just sit there and like, look, oh, where did it land? Like, no, move out the way.
And then everybody who's already played, like the second your finger is off the puck, they're like, move, I need to slide.
Yep. Because they're like in a line and like, go. Because it's all about time. So
it's really cool. It also adds to the feeling of anticipation for every room, but also the payoff. Like our rogue hit like 3 crits in one room. And by the end of it, we were literally, I was like, what? Because it's like all the coolness of a Dungeons and Dragons fight, but instead of it taking an hour and 30 minutes, they cram it into 10. So if anything happens or anyone gets a good spell off, like, you know about it immediately, and everybody in a cool group is like, yeah, like, well done, way to go. Or like, oh, we really got our butts kicked because none of us could hit Jack. So it was really cool to have that. The hecticness built some camaraderie, which is neat.
It is fun, and it is like more immersive because like certain things like the rogue, because he has 2-handed weapons, like you have to slide both ears at the same time with 2 hands.
That's cool.
The monk, the monk, because he hits twice, he has to do 2 like in a row, like quick.
His second has to be flicked while his first is still sliding.
Yes.
So it's like,
monks are hard.
Yeah, so it's all about like and I think the ranger is kind of the same way. Like if you have 2, and if it's 2-handed, you have to roll them both at the same time with opposite hands.
If you have a 2-handed sword, you have to like have 2 hands and like push it that way.
Yeah, that'd be funny. But it's just like, it's very cool if you get a good group, and if you get like a good DM and everybody's having a good time. It's absolutely amazing.
I think my big takeaway is that it was super cool. I did it twice the first time. The first game, I feel like, unfortunately, I don't know if you could do it once and feel totally satisfied, which I'm sure is a bit by design. So you're going to have to invest, I feel like, to do it a couple times. So the second time you're like, oh, I feel a little confident in what's going to happen. I don't feel like everything was an accident. I feel some agency in this game, not just beginner's luck. But I'm not sure I would pay to do like all 3 of them again, because I get it now. And I will say, though, I told the guys jokingly on the way up, I was like, listen, I'm just coming off of a huge emotional and entertainment high from experiencing the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah, you just think he's like back to back almost.
Unfortunately, timing wise, I was like, this True Dungeon thing, I'm genuinely worried that every other entertainment experience in my life from now on will feel dull and unimpressive.
Was that the case?
But it was not. Good. No, I mean, even going from the full force and might of Walt Disney World, putting everything they can behind my favorite IP, I came out of True Dungeon, especially that second time, being like, these people are freaking dedicated. Like, these volunteers did a great job role-playing bad guys and good guys and everything. And like, the tech was cool. They had like some little animatronics and stuff, and like shit lights up. There was fog. It was impressive.
That is cool. All right, since we're coming up on 2 hours, I want to ask one final question of both of you. What would you do differently the next time you go to Gen Con? I think maybe this is a bit more at Mark, since I'm sure you'll go back, but this was your first time. Billy, you're a veteran, so you've had the benefit of experience. But like, going back again, like what's one thing you would do differently next time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd like pack stuff in a backpack and then just like empty that out in my hotel and bring like an empty bag of my own or something like that. That's more comfortable to carry than like a shopping bag style that you get on the floor. That would be a very basic thing to do right off the bat. I'd do a little bit more budgeting now that I know what to expect, just as far as what games I want to buy. Because there were some times where I would put stuff back because I wasn't sure if I wanted it. And then there were other times I was buying kind of cheaper card games, just spur of the moment.
Yeah.
So I would also bring my own water bottle. These are very, very small practical things.
Pragmatic things.
I didn't do that, but everybody else had them. So it was one of those things I was like, this is a veteran move, I can tell.
Hydro pack is the best. Keep it close.
And then this kind of goes for me in anything that I enjoy doing that involves being in public, is not worrying to jump into things. Like, don't worry about going to the booth of the indie dude who's just standing there with no one there by himself because he's going to like want to explain the thing to you. Like, if you want to know how a game works, ask them, like, are you doing demos? Like, where can I find that? Because you think these things are going to be so well planned, or you go and you're going to be walked through it. Someone's going to hold your hand, even at their own booth, and they're too busy for that, honestly. So there were times where I saw a cool game in a box. I was like, I really want to know how that works, and I might buy it, but I don't want to interrupt them. I don't want to, get into it. If they're not doing demos, it's going to be weird if I ask them to or something. But then it would turn out that actually it was just in a different part of the room or something like that. So it's like you get out of these kind of things what you put in, I guess is my point. So like if you want to walk around the convention and not interact with people and just window shop, that's cool. But if you're the kind of person who wants to learn more about something and you think window shopping is going to get you there, it's not.
Gotcha.
Like you might have to be like, this looks cool, please tell me about it. So if you're like a shy person, have that in mind. Like, and that's another thing, like I said before, also keep in mind if you're like a shy person or whatever, that that's exactly why everyone's there.
Yeah.
And there is never a better place to nerd out on any of these things than Gen Con, because no one's going to be like, you're nerdier than me.
Yeah. You're in good company, I think.
Yeah.
Like a safe space. Bill, I'm sorry, go ahead. If you can finish your thought, Mark, please.
No, that was pretty much it.
Bill, what about you? What would you do differently at the next time you go to Gen Con, if you were to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think the drinks and snacks is always a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is hard to get those. There's so many people there that concession stands take forever.
And you're spending a lot of energy. Well, you don't think about it, but like walking that much, interacting, like that's a lot of energy that you're expending.
Yeah.
Don't take that for granted.
If you eat there.
Expensive, to buy drinks and snacks there. So bring like granola bars and some water bottles. I think that I would, like what he said, don't feel bad or don't feel intimidated to do exactly what you want to do, because that's what everybody's there to do. And so like if there's a game that you're interested in and none of your friends are, do it anyway. Like, because even if I'll be the only one there. No, because somebody else will be there. And then like you have a common interest, and there's enough people there that whatever you want to do, somebody else will. Like if you're going on like, and you're scheduling and you're like, oh, I really want to play this game or this demo or do whatever. And like, nobody else in your group cares about it. Like have that time where you split up and do your own things, like don't just, like if you stick with the party, that's really fun. But a lot of times, like you'll just keep doing the same thing. Like I don't give a shit about promo cards, and for the first 3 hours every day, they're like Mac and Jake, who care about promo cards, will go to every single booth because they have like daily promo cards and pick up that day's promo card. It's important to them. I'm not going to poo-poo it. But that's 3 hours of me just standing around waiting while, and then I get a promo card and I'm like, here, you want this? I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't improve. I don't think promo cards improve like the game. It's more like, oh, look what I got. It's like, and I've never been one
more of a collector thing.
Yeah, I'm not a collector exclusivity. Like if it doesn't add to the game, I don't care. Oh, like, oh, they reskinned it to be like it's one of the creators' faces instead of whatever. I'm like, I don't even know who that is, so I don't care.
I was into it when I played the Pokemon trading card game back in the day.
Lets me in, yeah.
I was part of the Pokemon League, and you could go to Borders, or Borders would host and you could get promo cards.
Yeah, I mean,
Borders.
Some people love that. Like that's the but it's the same people that like buy skins in like video games. Like,
right?
Yeah.
Because it's an exclusive skin.
It's a cosmetic update. Yeah.
I gives a shit.
But if you like it,
I'm not poo-pooing it. That's a lot of people don't care about the shit that I like, and
if you like it, force your friends to stand in line with you. You'll get their copies.
Yeah, and so like if they're gonna do that, find something like, okay, they're gonna do that for this hours. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna play the games that they don't like. Or I'm gonna or I'm gonna go do the things that they're and I'm gonna walk into that.
Well, like
the cosplay deviant booth, and and see some scantily clad.
Okay, you guys get here.
Diva or whatever, the girl from, I guarantee that she's probably
Overwatch.
One in there. Overwatch girl. Cosplaying as her.
Honestly, I'd much rather see her Mac, unfortunately, for the sexy cosplayers. I'd be like, oh, you don't have the Mac? I'm disappointed.
Yeah,
I want to see a sexy Mac.
Yeah, or like just go through the cosplay, or just like walk around it, like the, enjoy the grandeur of it. Don't get so laser focused on everything. You just don't see how, like, just the little cool little details, or like things that like if you're just excited to go to the next booth and then you miss a lot of stuff that like you think that you wouldn't be interested in, but give it a chance. Like I said, I don't care about the dice towers. Like there's some really cool dice towers, even if you don't think you could be. There's one I'm like, oh man, this is real. Give everything a chance.
Just go touch the stuff at the Wormwood booth. We know you can't afford it. They know you can't afford it, but it's there for you to touch.
Oh, you can get a full-size gaming table. It's only $8,000.
Yeah.
Only.
Well, at the base model. If you want cup holders, it's 9. If you want felt in it, it's 10. If you want.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah, and they have the full size. They brought them out there, and you're like, oh man, this is awesome. Like, it's $12,000 for this particular model with all these.
It's like, sure, can I trade you my fucking car?
Yeah, for a table, but I mean,
I think the biggest last pro tip thing that I would change is if for only those 4 days, the very first thing I would have done at the hotel is be like, okay, guys, let's convene on our phones and do the share my friends app, find my friends app,
nice
default AirTag, put an AirTag in your pocket, whatever you have on Android. I don't know. There's some equivalent, I'm sure. I would hook up everybody with some sort of GPS tracking or a plan to be like, if all else fails, I will be at the concession stand in Concourse B, because especially like, if which you should break off and do things on your own if you want, you're going to lose people in the crowd. And it would have been so nice to be able to just pull up my phone and be like, oh, find my app says they are this direction. Could be like a cool, fun mini game.
That's actually a good idea. I like that. Just that pragmatic, finding people in a convention center is hard. Been there.
Yeah. And it made me think of it because like now I'm reliving the experience of having lost them because I was trying to make another one of the vlogs, edit it together. And I'm like, am I going to include the part where I am literally lost for like 40 minutes?
I think,
I have footage of it of me being like, I'm fucking lost. Where are they?
It's a lot. So, I appreciate both of you guys just sharing your downloads from past Gen Cons. Mark, thanks for sharing your first experience and also taking the time to create that great vlog content. I can't wait to see some of the rest of the videos you've.
Yeah.
I was counting how many freaking True Dungeon Survivor things on.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That just shows you how many freaking stupid times I've been through.
You can hear them clanking if you're listening on Spotify or a podcast.
Oh I'm glad you like the first vlog because you can tell as I get tired throughout the weekend, the amount of I had like 6 hours of raw footage the first day to go through, and it just dwindles towards the end.
That's it for this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, and head over to +1togaming.com for more live discussions, actual plays, character creation tips, and more. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.